All right, hello, welcome. Today we're doing the Ultimate Chrome Shader Guide. On the left, we have the fastest Chrome you can make in Blender, and on the right, we have a smart material that's more complex. So we'll be gradually moving to that. So I have a scene set up right now. I have a couple objects. Now, the first step and the most important thing to getting a good Chrome going on is this image surrounding us. This is what the Chrome is going to reflect off of. See how the Chromes look kind of boring and dull? It's because the background color is just a gray. So in order to change that, we go here, we go to color, open up environment texture. It's going to pop up pink because it's missing a texture. So we can just go ahead, click open, and locate our folder with our images. You can insert any image in here and get totally different results. So that's how I'm getting all these different reflections. For my scene, it's really simple. I just have a cube with an emission texture on it and a ground plane and two lights. All right, I'm in Cycles X right now. And if you were in Eevee, like I just switched to now, these Chrome materials are still gonna work, still gonna look good. There's a couple settings you might want to turn on, like ambient occlusion, screen space reflections, and fucking switch to cycles. So to get started, all you're gonna have to do is come down to material properties. It already has the Chrome assigned, so we're gonna delete that with the X and click on this new button. So now we've assigned a new texture and created a new texture in our scene. We can do things like change the base color, and we have these settings down here. And at first it may be a lot to take in, but if you just read through them, they're pretty self-explanatory. So metallic, if we turn metallic up, it's gonna become a metal surface. Now if we wanted that chrome look, that mirror finish, we just have to take our roughness and bring it down to 0. It's that easy. That's how you make a Chrome quick. Click new, turn up the metallic. So what we're gonna do is instead of turning down the roughness manually, we're gonna have an image control the roughness. So we're gonna split the window from 3D viewport over to shader editor. And now we have this new window, and this is our material. This is the node-based system for our material. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna drag and drop an image from the web. I have a surface imperfection pack that I just downloaded, but literally you can use any image. The same way you can use any image to light your scene, you can use any image to control the roughness. So I'm liking what 16 looks like. Let's drag and drop that in. So all we do is connect the color to the roughness. And boom, we have imperfections on our Chrome. Honestly, this is like the best technique. It's quick, easy, gives great results. Say it's not Chrome enough for you and you want it to be a little bit more Chrome, you can click Shift A to add a new node, and we're gonna add a color ramp. So if we take our black and make it white, it's now a perfectly rough surface. If we make our white and make it black, it's now perfectly mirrored. So if we just mess with these values and find a sweet spot in the middle, a nice gray, we still have these imperfections. They're less noticeable, but the little details you add in a render are subconsciously noticed. Great technique right there. All right, we're gonna move to a little bit more complex. I'm gonna keep the shader window open because we're gonna be building this oil spill brushed metal fill type material. I see a lot of stuff online about the iridescent stuff, and honestly all you gotta do is find a picture just like this one, click that in, and boom, you got that iridescent look. But say you have a different lighting scheme in mind. You know, you have something that's a little bit more harsh, but you still want to have this oil spill look. We'll go over that. We need a noise texture. All right, if you've never heard of Node Wrangler, I'm gonna be using it from now on. You can enable it in add-ons. We're gonna stretch it on the X by, I'm gonna say 111, and then I'm gonna drop the Y value down to 0.5, so it's like basically exactly right. I'm also gonna rotate this by 90, but yeah, that looks good to me. So if we went ahead and plugged this into our base color now, we get this nice Saturn's rings, however you want to call it. I'm going to turn the metallic up because we're going to need that. and I'm going to turn the roughness down to about 0.2. Now, instead of putting this just in the base color, we're also going to put this into our normal map using a bump texture. So the bump is going to plug into the normal, and our noise texture that we just created is going to plug into our height. And instantly we're getting a pretty extreme example of what's going on here. All we got to do is turn down the strength of this and dial it in. Let's go ahead and add some variation to our brushed chrome look. We're going to add a mix node, and we're going to mix our vector data, our vector mapping data, with a noise texture. Already it's getting wavy. So the factor here is going to control the mapping node or the noise texture. So if we go high, if we go 1, it's going to be noise texture way up here. The noise texture is completely controlling the output of this node. But if we go 0, it's completely the mapping node. All right, so if we do 0.5, it's going to be right in the middle there, and we get some nice waves. That slick oil look, and it's going to be driven by one node, and that's the layer weight node. Based on the perspective we have on the cube is going to change the output of this node. And what we're going to use it for is our base color. So we're going to add a color ramp in here. We're going to have some fun and reverse these around. So it's dark on the outside and light on the inside. And then we're going to change this to be a nice yellow. And then we're going to add another, actually I'm going to do like a sky blue kind of look. And then I'm going to change this to B-spline. Yeah, that's my explanation on B-spline. Honestly, you could pick anything. You could pick constant if you really wanted to and get a cell shaded look. I'm going to use B-spline. We're going to drop that into the color and boom, there we go. We got this nice oil slick material. All right, last material. This is the most complicated we're going to be doing. Keep in mind, when you're working with nodes, there is an infinite amount of complexity you could achieve. And how you'd achieve it is just by doing the same processes over and over again and keep adding and adding more noise texture. All right, so we're going to do a smart material, something that's slightly different in terms of instead of using one principal shader, we're going to use multiple. As long as you can remember what I'm saying and don't worry about the math too much, this part will be easy. So we're going to add a bevel node. Then we're going to add a geometry node. And basically what we want to find is the difference between this bevel node and this normal here. So as you can see, the bevel node is giving us this yellow here. That means that there's a bevel. Nice. So we want to find the difference between our hard normal map and this nice smoothed bevel map. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a vector math node because we're working with vectors right now. Add those together and switch this over to dot product. All right, and if we check the value of this, we're now getting bevels. Add some loop cuts in here, extrude along normals and bring those down. I'm going to use a map range node, which is the same as the color map. You could use either or. I just kind of like the way it sounds when you use a map range node. Shade auto smooth, yeah. Now I'm going to run this into a color ramp. Here we go. Just like that, we've found the curvature of our object. So say we add Suzanne in here and then link this material. It should just find hard edges like instantly. So let's duplicate our principal and add a mix shader node. So during the brushed metal, we talked about the factor and how the factor is going to control the waves. What's great about nodes is you can plug a value into the factor and just have that control it instead of a manual value. So for us, this map that we just created is going to control the difference between these two shaders. So right now, along all the edges is this sharp metal. And then on the inside, it'll be more of a dull metal, right? Because the edges are getting worn down. I think that makes sense. Yeah, in the real world, there's imperfections in objects. This time we're going to use a Musgraves texture just because it's kind of fun and it's different. Drop that down, turn this up. And I want a bunch of detail in there. Oh yeah, so to drive our bevel node, we're gonna use the Musgraves texture. It's gonna drive the radius. Now if we look at the bevel has a lot of imperfections that are being driven from the Musgrave. And now when we look at our final result and fine tune this to be a little bit more, it's really just a numbers game. There, I'm liking that. And then we can check our shader combination. Now I'm just gonna do one last thing. I'm gonna add a noise, drop the scale down, just so there's a little bit more variation in the roughness as well. Anyways, as you can see, you can just get lost in nodes. So yeah, that's how you make chrome shaders. Ultimately, you can make these as complex as you possibly want, but you gotta manage and think to yourself, is it worth it to spend maybe like 30 minutes, 40 minutes on one smart material if you're only gonna use it once, or just throw a texture map on there, call it a day, and move on to the next thing because you got 100 more to go, you know? But if you're gonna be using that smart material on like 400 different objects in your scene, definitely take the time to do it right. You know, it's just balancing, okay? So all of these shaders have their own use case, and it's your job as the artist to know when to use them.